Now, I'm not sure when, but at some point in my time on Instagram, people started thinking that I was a multi-tool aficionado, somebody they could come to with questions about which multi-tool they should get. And don't get me wrong, I'm humbled by that. But I think it's important to understand that I cannot answer that question for you. What I would like to do in this video is to hopefully teach you how to evaluate a multi-tool and how it should fit for you. Today we're going to be just talking about the difference between a primary and secondary function on a multi-tool, or on pretty much anything that you carry, period. And we'll show some examples of that as well. So today we're going to go ahead and we're going to figure that stuff out. So if you're interested and you're having trouble trying to figure out which multi-tool or which items you should carry with you, on a day-to-day, this might be a really good video to kind of help put things in the proper frame of reference. So stay tuned. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and let's get to it. So I have some very nice multi-tools up in front of me, and we want to talk today about primary versus secondary. Okay. Primary, I think, is going to be a little bit easier to explain. So a primary function, as I'm defining it for a multi-tool, are anything that you can access one-handed. Simple as that. So as you can see, there's a variety of multi-tools on this table. Some functions that are available on a particular multi-tool are easy to access one-handed, and some are not. So if we pull up, say, the center drive, the options for one-handed are quite obvious. You have the one-handed blade, you have the bit driver, also one-handable, and of course you have the pliers, right? These are primary functions of this tool. So if I'm trying to evaluate whether this tool is right for me, the first thing I want to do is check the primary functions. Do they accomplish what I'm looking for? Things like pocket clips is kind of a whole nother discussion. So that's going to be how we carry it. That also will have a big impact on whether this is the right tool for me. In the case of the center drive, does not come with a pocket clip. You're going to have to holster carry this particular tool. If that is a problem for you, this may actually hurt it, your choice, if you will. So we don't need to talk about the other inside tools, but I want to just illustrate that's primary options. The reason I personally carry the signal is because the primary functions of the blade, hammer, and the saw, as well as the saw, of course, I can do one-handed, and then plier. So I can easily access the plier one-handed as well. This is something I cannot accomplish with the Skeletool because of the spring-loaded action. So this has 1, 2, 3, and 4 primary functions. 4 primary functions that can be accessed one-handed. And because of that, it's one of the reasons why I carry this one in particular. All right. Moving on to the Skeletool, I think part of the reason why this appeals so much to the knife lovers out there is that the primary function on this tool is simply a 154 cm blade, a nice short one. It's nice and compact and light. And so that is the only function that's really primary outside of the cap lifter, which is sort of a minor thing I don't really mention because so many things can be used as cap lifters, but you get the idea here, okay? So the only primary function on the Skeletool is a 154 cm blade. So that's it. So for those people who like knives, that's, I think, a lot of the reason why people gravitate to that simple system. When we go to something like the Wave or the Charge, we get blades. We also get files. All of these can be accessed one-handed, by the way, as well as the pliers. So you have 5 one-handed features, 5 primary functions on this tool. And even though something like the P4, every single tool can be accessed one-handed, which is kind of a big deal, What people have found, and I think reason why it maybe didn't appeal to everybody, is the primary function selection on this tool, or the Wave, were more appealing and still are in many cases. So if you're not familiar, the P4 has the ability to not only access the outer tools one-handed, but also the inner tools. This, I actually do believe that they were right in saying, is a big deal. However, I have voiced my opinions about primary tool selection as well as secondary tool selection in this one. And I think that in some ways they have done a very good job, and in some ways not so much. But all of the functions are designed to be primary in the P series. It's one of its big claim to fames. Now, if I look at one of the flagship tools from something like Victorinox, like the Spirit X here, now what do we have? Well, we have only secondary tools that require two hands to open. Now, I have done a short video on opening these one-handed with nail nicks, and it is very involved. It is theoretically possible to open every tool, but I was only able to do this after modifying the spring, not the spring itself, but grinding down the stop so that it's easier to open than it would otherwise be. As you can see, that tool lifting, the reason is the pressure on that tool has been reduced. In the normal version that you get, you'll never have the ability to see that coming out like that. This is because I've reduced the pressure needed to remove the tools. I found that a very helpful thing so that I wouldn't destroy my fingernails. But these are all secondary tools. The same thing is true for something like the KF4, one of my absolute favorite multi-tools of all time. And that's because everything is spring-loaded or slip joint. Okay? So when you're carrying this, you need to establish what your primary functions are outside of that. So if I was carrying that, maybe something like a folding knife might make sense. Maybe something like, I don't know, a fixed blade makes sense to you. I don't know. But these are primary functions that will complement the secondary functions provided on this particular tool. Do I need pliers as a primary function? Maybe you do. Maybe there is a reason to carry an independent plier that does a specific function. Do I need a prying edge, an independent primary tool that I can access one-handed because I'm working on something I need actually to get in there and do some heavy prying work? Maybe. You need to ask that question of yourself. Don't ask me what's the best multi-tool, because that's not a fair question for anybody to be asked. And if anyone tells you the best multi-tool is X without asking you questions, a lot of questions about what you need it for, how you carry it, and so on, they're probably just very opinionated, not so much a beacon of advice for you. So try to stray away from that kind of absolute feedback that you would get from somebody. When you're deciding what you carry, it's very, very personal. And so I would continue to go down that path and definitely do some evaluations for yourself. Maybe write in a notebook what it is you actually need with you, what it is that you want with you, and figure out what the primary functions are. One of the reasons I carry the Signal and or the modified Skeletools is that I found that in my constant tinkering, I needed this persuader, if you will, to help me through a lot of that process. So I do carry these quite a bit more than I found myself carrying either the P4 or the Charge. I have, though, still carried the P4 quite a bit because I found that the prying edge is more than sufficient, and it allows me to not have to dedicate my pockets to having a prying tool all the time, which is why I still do carry the P4. So these are actually from my collection. These are actual tools I use and why I use them. You know, I carry this one for its corrosion resistance. You know, I use this one because of the bit driver when I need that particular purpose. I've even created my own hybrid one tool option, if you will, because I wanted access to a very specific set of tools that are unusual. All right. This is what I did for me, but you yourself, you're going to have to find what works for you. So think about it. What are the primary functions that you're looking for? Is the blade the only thing that matters to you? Does the plier one-handed access matter to you? Do you need to go all one-handed with a lot of different tools? There are different selections for you. So go ahead and take a look at all of them and try to make that evaluation for yourself. Think about it. Primary, secondary. Very, very, very helpful. You guys have a great day.